What is it that makes a ghost story really terrifying? It's not always about the jump scares, right? Sometimes it's that slow, creeping dread, the kind that takes a place you know and twists it into something you don't recognize at all. Okay, so today we're going to break down this really chilling first-person horror story and figure out what makes it tick.
We've all been there, right? A school after hours, it's so quiet it's almost loud, and the hallways just seem to stretch on forever. This story grabs that exact feeling and asks a really simple but terrifying question. What if you're not actually alone in that silence? So, every great horror story kicks off with a dose of normal life. And that's exactly where we begin here, with a student, a pile of books for finals, and a very late night in the school library. Sounds pretty normal, right? The setting is absolutely crucial. See, horror writers love to take a safe space and make it unsafe. A library is supposed to be quiet and calm, but the story twists that, turning the calm into this really unnerving absolute silence. It's a classic setup, because when you're completely isolated, that's when the fear really starts to creep in. This timeline right here, this is the first crack in the foundation of a normal day. Our protagonist usually heads home at 8 p.m. By pushing it to 10, they've stepped out of their routine, out of their comfort zone. And in a horror story, a tiny change like that is almost always the trigger for everything that's about to go wrong.
And right on cue, with the stage perfectly set, the ordinary world just begins to crumble. This is where the story starts to introduce the first real hint that something is deeply, deeply wrong.
Okay, so the first scare isn't something you see, it's something you hear. A single, weird, unsettling sound. A limp. It's so effective because your mind instantly jumps to what's making that noise, and whatever you imagine is always going to be scarier than reality. The student's reaction says it all. They don't hesitate, they just grab their stuff and run. And there it is, the first sighting. This is a perfect example of less is more. The figure isn't running at them or screaming, she's just there. And then she's not. It builds this incredible sense of dread. Who was that? Did I even really see her?
So this is a huge turning point. The horror is no longer trapped inside the school. The outside world, the place our student is running to for safety, is now just as wrong as the inside. A street that should be busy is totally empty. That just cranks up the feeling of isolation. There's literally nowhere safe to go.
And now we get the full reveal. The threat isn't a shadow or a sound anymore. It's a person, right there, with these deeply disturbing details. Tattered clothes, twisted limbs, you get this picture of someone who has been through something awful, which makes her both terrifying and kind of tragic.
This line. It just hits you, right? Because we have all had that gut feeling, that little voice in your head screaming that something is just not right. The story uses that to put us right there with the protagonist. We can feel those alarm bells going off.
The chase is over. That slow, creeping dread is about to peak. We're at the confrontation. But trust me, it is not the kind of confrontation you'd expect. I mean, what kind of question is that? It's so bizarre and so chilling. It's not a threat, it's not a warning, it's just nonsense. And that's what makes it so scary. Our brains freak out when they can't find a pattern, and a phrase like that just completely shatters any sense of reality. Faced with this completely impossible question, the student just goes into pure survival mode. They don't try to figure it out, they just do the one thing they think might make this threat go away. Pointing randomly into the distance is just a desperate act of pure panic. And there it is, the horrific payoff. That scream, coming from far away, tells you the consequence of that little lie. They failed some kind of terrifying supernatural test. And the scream isn't angry, it's full of pain, which is somehow 1,000,000 times more chilling.
Okay, so after that peak of absolute terror, we get the resolution. The story finally gives us the why. Who was this woman, and what on earth did she want?
So the terrifying, nameless figure, she finally gets a name, Agatha. And with a name comes a story. This is the moment she starts to transform from just a monster into a tragic person.
Giving the tragedy a specific year, 1998, is such a smart move. It grounds the story. It makes it feel less like some ancient fairy tale and more like a piece of local history, like something that really happened to real people not that long ago.
And here it is, the heartbreaking truth. Agatha isn't evil. She's a grieving mother,
completely trapped by her sorrow, just endlessly searching for the little girl she lost. This backstory changes everything we just saw. Her twisted look, her limp, that bizarre question, it all comes from this unimaginable pain. The story is so brilliant because it makes us feel pure terror first, and then this deep, profound sympathy.
So, what do we take away from all this? Is it just a sad story about a mother's love being so strong it lasts beyond death? Or maybe it's a warning, a reminder that some places hold on to their pain, and that sometimes it's just better not to be the one who stumbles onto